Good afternoon, traders, and welcome to this week's weekly market analysis class, Monday, the 25th of June. Before we get started, as always, please understand that any advice in today's session is of a general nature only and that your personal circumstances have not been taken into consideration. Okay, let's bring forward what's happening this week, the major talking points. If we just do a little recap on last week, the biggest turnaround in currency was with the sterling. As you know, the GBP USD had been falling for quite a significant period. It may have found the bottom. We're not 100% sure. We'll have a look at that in a moment when we look at our charts. But definitely it did a rebound at the monetary statements and the voting, specifically the voting. It changed from a 6-2 vote to a 7-3. Sorry, from a 7-3 to a 6-4 vote, and basically it's put the possibility of an interest rate increase for the sterling, even though the data had been relatively poor for the last 2 months. So that was the major talking point. Also, the trade war between the US and China seems to be a little bit more escalated, and it's continuing. We just have to keep an eye out on that. The major benefits have been the commodities and stocks, as we saw the Aussie index, for example, break into new highs. We saw oil benefiting, but on the contrary, gold has fallen. So let's see what's going to develop from that. But those were the major talking points from last week. In terms of this week, and remember it is the last week of the month, it is a little bit slower in data, and as you can see from what I'm showing you, there's not a whole lot on the agenda. The data of most significant this week comes from New Zealand, where they will have their official cash rate announcement. It's not expected that will be increasing their rates, but we're also looking at their statement to see what they feel their economy is doing, and if they perhaps hint at which way they may be moving, or if they're going to be holding off indefinitely for the near future. So from New Zealand, we got the monetary policy statement and the cash rate decision. We also have their confidence number on the Wednesday earlier there, as I'm highlighting. From the US, we have a number of data. We have the consumer confidence number from the US, the core durable goods, the crude oil inventories as well, and the GDP numbers on the Thursday evening. Probably the GDP number is going to be the one that's going to affect the market itself the most from those four, but that's what we have on the cards for the US. I guess lastly, the next most significant for the week is from Canada, where we have the GDP numbers on Friday evening. That's probably going to be the most impacting. Also, we have the Business Outlook survey, and of course, Bank of Canada Governor Pollock will be speaking. So there you have it. In terms of data releases, the currency that's probably, or the currency pair that will be affected the most strictly by data releases will be the Kiwi dollar this week. So just note that. And of course, the times that I'm showing you are in my local time, which is Australian Eastern Standard Time. Okay, so just please take note of those. Let me bring forward my charts. Let's begin our analysis. If anybody has any questions, or you've accumulated any questions throughout the week, please paste them in right now. I will answer them as I see them, or if you just have any generic questions, please feel free to ask away. All right, let's kick it off with the Aussie dollar, and this is the current chart. Instantly, I am wanting to draw a line down the bottom here. Okay, and I'm particularly noticing that here we've perhaps have had a little bit of a bounce, or have we not? So let me just zoom in on this area. Okay, I'm just looking over here if there's any candle patterns that would justify a buy, but there is not. Can't see one. So I'll just leave the blue line here in place just so that I remember where it is. And let me zoom out one lot. My natural instinct here is to look for a trade in this area here, but the trade would be heading back down to test this line one more time. Okay, that's what I'm basically looking for. There is no other possibility, or there's no other high probable trade that I might be interested in. Okay, we did not get a setup in that area to take the trade in that direction. So the natural thing to do is let's see if it can provide something for us. Now, if it continues to go too high and it gets close to this level over here, well then obviously if it goes to here, I'm not going to be interested in that, because that could be a full trend reversal. So just keep note of that. But somewhere over here makes sense. So let me just mark that into my chart so that I can, when I come back, I know exactly what I'm looking for. So I'll just put a little box there. Let me get rid of this one. And I'm looking for something, a price action reversal pattern, to be occurring in this area, so that gives me the possibility to possibly short again. And essentially the reason for the trade is I'm basically just following the trend. And if we do get far away enough, also just make sure that we have enough room here to hit our target, because this level here is definitely a supportive level. Okay, so there you have it. That's our Aussie USD for this week. Let me look at the Euro USD. Let me just zoom out a bit longer. I already saw one trade there. Okay, definitely I've got this area marked out. So I was looking for a double bottom type trade. All right. I can see one. Let me just look at a 4-hour chart. On the 4-hour chart, it's the same. Let me zoom in a bit more and I'll highlight it to you. There's one over here. Did anybody take this trade? That one there? That is an engulfing candle. The green one is completely engulfing the red one. So the way that you would take this particular trade is at the open, right there, you would be in this direction. Your stop would be just below that, and this trade would not have hit your first target yet. You would still be in this trade. Did anybody, can I just get a show of hands, who took the Euro USD long? If you could just type in a Y for yes or an N for no, please. Just want to see that you guys can hear me, that you're alert. We haven't fallen asleep. Thank you. Okay. All right, so one of you at least has taken it. Okay, well done. Looking at this chart right now, if I had seen it myself, that's a valid entry, so there's nothing that I would be looking at. But what I'm going to draw in a second section now. I'm just going to draw in this. I just get the feeling that this might now bounce around in there. Okay, so I'm just going to leave it just so it reminds me. The good news is that your target, your T1 will be about there, and your T2, you've definitely got enough room to get to your T1 and your T2. Okay, so if you're in that trade. But let's just leave that area marked in. So this week for the Euro USD, effectively we would be in a long position, so I'm not looking at doing anything. And really needing to wait that trade out. Okay, so that's the Euro USD. US yen. Okay, this channel, it's taking forever. And every time we get close, we're not quite reaching it. I still really am looking for that trade there, but it's just not coming. Let me see what else I have. On a 4-hour chart, there's a converging triangle, possibly. Let me just see it a bit better. It does not look as good as I thought it would look. Okay, let's leave it. I'm just going to draw this one in. I like this top line. And I get the feeling that we're going to form some kind of a triangle like that. Okay. However, just please note that the bottom line has only got 1 point locked in. So I do not have a point over here to lock that in. So what I have to do is I have to wait until the market comes and meets me. Okay. So for example, if the market came down to here and then shot in the other direction, only when it shoots away, I would have 1 and 2. I would have 1 and 2 at the top. So therefore, when it reaches over here on my third touch would be the very first time that I could attempt the trade over there. Okay, so please note that. I'm just leaving those lines in, but what may happen is I may have to adjust this line. As far as up to there is the most that I would be willing to adjust it, and that would be a falling channel inside there. Okay, so for now I just get the feeling I might do this. I'm just going to leave it there somewhere, and I'm going to come back and look at it and see where it's going. Andrew's asking me, is it a falling wedge? I can't see. Well, that's what I kind of just drawing. I don't know if it's a falling wedge yet. Until I get my second point locked in, I don't know what type of pattern it will actually end up being. Okay, so for now I've just drawn the line, and that line is just strictly there so that when I come back and look at this chart, it reminds me of what I'm actually looking for. The big channel, Andrew, you're referring to, well, we've got that already. That is, it's not a wedge, it's an actual channel. It's a falling channel. So we've got the touches there. Okay, so that's definitely on the cards. But with this particular pattern, I'm still waiting to get to that level there before I can do this trade. But in the meantime, I would be happy to maybe get a trade in there. Okay. All right. So that's our US yen. Let's wait and see where this level bounces. Let's look at the US CAD. Let me zoom out. Okay, so this channel that I was looking for, we got to the channel over there and basically it just kept on going. So, and if we look closely, you can see that there is zero price action in that area, which basically means there's no valid trade. So you've been protected by the price action of the candle patterns. Okay, so if you had purely just traded off the level, you would have got stopped out. So this one's all right. So let me now, that channel has failed, so let me just delete it. Okay, so if this appears to be on an uptrend, the logical trade would be to allow this to fall, look for the price action in that area, and then hit the trade in continuation of the trend. Okay, so that's all there is on this one, pretty straightforward. So what I'll do is I'm just going to draw in a zone here just so that I know that I'm looking for the dip, and if I can get the correct price action candle patterns inside of that dip. So there you have it. That's the US CAD. GBP USD. Okay, so GBP USD, let me just zoom out a little bit more. You can see that I've got this line here, which is catching that whole area from before. We got close not quite on. We got close, and then we've produced like an engulfing candle. It's not right on. It's close-ish. Okay, and let's see where it takes us now. If I look at this, my natural instincts here is we're definitely in a downtrend, so I'm looking for something there and to continue into the downtrend. Okay, so look for some kind of candle patterns, preferably. Let me just draw it in where it looks to my eye where it could happen, around here, even a little bit higher, about there. It looks like what I might be interested in. Okay, so we did try to catch it before, but we never got the correct setup. So that was unfortunate, but it did the trick, but we didn't get the setup. So let's see if maybe this time it doesn't, or perhaps maybe this time it will not, and it will just continue. And then I'd be very interested to see if it can cross that level, then maybe continue in that direction, something like that. But at the moment, the most probable trade is wait, let's see if it can get in here somewhere, give us the price action, and then deliver the trade in this direction. That is the most probable setup coming from the current chart as it stands right now. Kiwi dollar. Okay, we're not quite at that level. That's a little bit higher. This one here feels like it's going to give me that bouncy ball type effect, where you could get ball bounces, or bounce a little bit lower, bounce a little bit, and then fall off the table and shoot off in this direction. That's what it feels like. I've seen this pattern many, many times. It feels like it's developing. So if that was to happen, then we may get a setup over here somewhere to hit it downwards. And there's enough room to be able to take that trade should that develop for us. Okay, but what it feels like, it's going to do this bouncy and then fall off the edge of the table. Okay, so let's look out for it. We may, if we get these setups, what we might find is that we might get 2 or 3 set up at the same time. So because they're all biased around the same movement. So let's see how they turn out. But I'll put my shaded area on my chart right there, Kiwi dollar. And don't forget, this week the Kiwi dollar is the one that's going to be the most susceptible to data. So it could easily go back, pull back, and then just break straight through. All right, so let's leave it penciled in as it is. Let's see if it plays out for us. Okay, let's have a look at the commodities. WTI. Big candle on Friday. It's still rising pretty much one direction. Okay, what's confusing about this particular chart is when it comes down and does a dip, it breaks that level there, which is good, and then this high is lower than that high, which is good. So it's kind of like feeling like it's going to do this and just continue as such. But then this level seems to hold, and it's made a high here, which is broken past that one, and it's broken past that one. So in essence, this is what I like to call an increase in a market which is making higher highs and lower lows. So if you look at the last movement, this last movement here, it made a lower low but also a higher high. So it broke, the market was trading at this range, and then it's broken and trading in a wider range. So when that happens, I like to see the market settle down before anything, before I can try and identify another opportunity. But what I will do with this one is I'm going to mark that high, and let's be open to the possibility that we might get a double top. Okay, so let's leave that as such, and if we do get up there to that double top zone, well, then we might get an opportunity to trade that particular level. Okay, let's have a look at gold. Okay, so this pattern, I've seen it so many times. Remember, we were looking at this congestion and we broke it. We came out and we were looking for a trade over here to continue, but we didn't get price action anywhere along that area, and then it falls down. That's just very unfortunate for us. So a little bit frustrating. Let me zoom out a little bit and let's see if I've got anything else. This is just giving me an opportunity to highlight something for you. Often people will draw a line such as this one. Sorry, that one there. And although this point is a significant point, they're all significant points, okay? Well, actually, this one that would have been the projection to see if we could have taken a trade. But definitely these points here are significant. The only issue that I have with such a line is that this point here is a super important point, okay? And it cannot be ignored. And if I was to try and catch this point, it totally changes this line. So generally, when I get this type of line here and I'm skipping out on something big like this, I don't like it. So let's just get rid of it. Whereas this line here on my chart now, and if I zoom right out, you can clearly see that these are the two most significant points of the last 2 years movement. Okay, so when I come back, if this market was to fall into this region here, it's a zone that I'm very, very interested in trading. What I might also do is I might extend out a vertical just to see where they meet. So it could give me the possibility that I might get, if this market was to come something like that, that would be an extremely strong point with a high probability of being able to get a trade in that direction if we got the correct price action to develop at that particular point. Okay, now, so with gold, I'll leave these two markings on my chart, and I would be happy to look for trades on either line. All right, so let's leave it as such, and let's see if we can get it to play out for us. Okay, so that is gold. Last one for the week, Aussie 200. Okay, we did get the inside candle over there at our 1, 2, at what would have been the third touch. So that I've circled it there. That is an inside candle. However, we broke right through, which basically means you would have had a pending order down here to be a seller, and as soon as it broke up the top, you would have to come back and cancelled out your pending order. So consequently, now that level has failed, so we just leave it alone, and let's get rid of that line now and start fresh. Okay, I'm just noticing that I can catch a few points there, so I'm going to leave this line in, and the reason why I've drawn that line in is I'm catching an important point, and a very important point there. So I like it. It's not finding a trade for me right now. Nevertheless, okay, we could get something here. Okay, let me zoom in a little bit. Let me just catch it a bit better. Okay, these two lines, it's not. I'm using them independently. The bottom one I'm just leaving it in there because I feel that could be a support level, and the top one, pretty much the same reason. It doesn't look like a rising wedge, but kind of does. But either way, that top line is of importance and it's significant. So what I'm interested in here is to see if I can get anything happening at that level, because that's definitely two significant points. If I could get some price action to develop at this level here, well then this trade is definitely on the cards, okay? And that's the ASX 200. It's the only thing on the cards. If it was to do that and then was to come and continue all the way to the other side at this level, definitely again I would be interested in a trade at that level as well, okay? So initially the first one is over here. Let's see if we can get the trade or the setup that we want, and that will trigger a trade for us, okay? All right, so there you have it, guys. Do you have any questions? If you have any questions, please just type them in. I'll just recap quickly while you type away. Aussie 200, we've bounced off this level, but we haven't produced a correct setup. So I've got my zone marked in, and I'm looking for a pullback and then continuation trade down the trend. Euro USD, we would be in an open position right now, so I'm leaving that alone, but I've marked in as a region where we feel that the market may consolidate within. US yen, I'm tentatively putting in a bottom line. I may get a converging triangle developing, so I'll just leave it in there, but also don't forget about the large channel, falling channel. We could get a trade up here somewhere to go down. US CAD, we can look for continuation in the upward direction, somewhere in that grey zone where I've marked out. Likewise for the GBP USD, but in the short direction. Kiwi dollar, pretty much the same. This one looks more like the bouncy ball effect. WTI, let's see if we can possibly get that double top. Gold, we just spoke about. We have two significant lines that could be converging at some point here. If we get it, it would definitely give us a high probability trade. And finally, ASX 200, we've marked in that top line. We are very close. If it was to go up and meet us, then we're definitely interested in that short trade. So there you have it. Any questions, guys, before I wrap up for the day? I hope the trading has been going well. We are in a trade on the daily call. I think it was Aussie Swiss. Let me just look at it quickly while I've got all my charts here. Aussie Swiss. I think it's an Aussie Swiss. There it is. It was a fishing strip. That's it. Let me just, I don't want to change this chart, so I'm just going to change my profile 1 second. Okay, there's the setup. And I think if I zoomed out, I had a support line from memory, and we got the fishing strip as such. So these are the two candles, and at the moment, if you're on this, you're probably backwards a little bit there, whatever that distance is. I'll just measure about 13-15 pips. Okay, so that's our daily call chart of the day this morning. Dave, yes, every class that I do is recorded, and you will find them inside on the CSC website. You can either log in and you'll see it there straight away as you log in, or it's inside the Signal. I forgot what it's called. Give me 1 second. Let me see if I can show you. So you can either log in, or if you go into the Signal Center and you go daily call or market analysis. So if you click on that, it will be here, and that particular one that's showing there is last week's, and about half an hour after I finish today, it'll be today's. Okay, it takes me about half an hour to get it up there. So that's where you can find it. Okay guys, if there's no more questions, let's wrap it up. I'll just show you one final time the major news for the week. These are the times. Please take note. They are in my local time. I hope you all have a great trading week. If you have any questions, please email us. I'm more than happy to help you. Look, just keep it up and keep listening to the Daily Call. I'll speak to you tomorrow via that, or I'll speak to you next week live for Masterclass. Bye for now.